This is Randy Nunez back at Between the Chalk Lines and the weekly wrap up. We have some news, not a ton. Probably going to be hearing a lot more in the next week or two when the winter meetings start on December 3rd. So, first off, first and only real big signing of the week was this past Sunday. Aaron Nola and the Phillies decided to reunite on a 7-year and $172 million contract. All of it is guaranteed. There are no incentives, no bonuses, and Aaron will get $24.57 million every year from 2024 through 2031. So that was a pretty clean and easy contract for them. Nola initially wanted 7 years and a little bit over $200 million in spring, and that's when their extension talks initially broke down because the Phillies only wanted to do about 6 years and $150 million. So they got to that healthy middle. Still got the 7 years for Nola, and Phillies got to keep it under $200 million. So good job for them. Congratulations. I didn't watch the presser, but I mean, it's a really good contract for a really good, consistent and workhorse type pitcher. He's never going to be an extreme ace. The last 3 years, he's started 32 games. He's the only pitcher to have 32 games or more started in the last 3 years. Had a ERA plus of 102, so just a smidge above league average, and threw over 579 innings in those 3 years, as well as had a 4.09 ERA with a 32 and 31 record during that span of 2021 to 2023. So obviously you can tell with the ERA above 4, he's not a lights out guy, but almost 580 innings. It's a lot of innings for a guy. You're going to get almost 200 innings every year, almost there. And the 32-31 record, obviously that's a combination of himself and the offense of the Phillies. But, they have him locked down all the way until 2031. So he's going to be a Philly for life, pretty much. That they are not going to shy away from possibly signing another pitcher. I know Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who just got posted, and his negotiating window started on Tuesday, and will end on January 4th. So the signing team has to have a deal in by January 4th with the MLB office, commissioner's office. That is a possibility, but regarding Yoshinobu Yamamoto, there has been some interesting news coming out that he wants to play on a team that already has a Japanese player. I don't know if that's 100% true. That's just what I've heard. That's what the agent apparently said to some Japanese media earlier in the week. So that leaves only 8 players. The only teams that have a Japanese player currently are the Padres, the Red Sox, the Cubs, and the Mets. I know there are a couple others that I'm missing right now. Let me look. I'm sorry. But we have the free agents in Kenta Maeda, who I know the contract talks with Tigers in Detroit have picked up exponentially in the last few days. So Kenta Maeda might be going to Detroit. Let me see this real quick. Sorry, and then of course, obviously, there's Shohei Ohtani, who we have no idea will be signing with. So, like I said, Darvish in San Diego, Maeda, free agent, Ohtani, free agent, Kikuchi, sorry. So Kikuchi is with the Blue Jays, Suzuki is with the Cubs, Uh, Yoshida is with the Red Sox, and Fujinami, very, very low level, kind of very new actually. He just debuted last year um, with the Athletics and then got traded to the Orioles. So Shintaro Fujinami is a relief pitcher. Not really big star. You don't hear his name a lot. And Kodai Senga with the Mets. Um, I think if the Orioles want to get back to the playoffs and they want to, solidify their rotation, um, going after Yoshinobu Yamamoto would be a big move and a big deal. But the only problem there is the fact that it's been said again by representatives and Japanese media that Yoshinobu wants to play for a big market team. So that means like the Mets, the Padres, the Dodgers, um, Red Sox. Those are all big market teams. And some of those big market teams already have a Japanese player. The Detroit Tigers could possibly be in the mix for Yamamoto if they sign Maeda, who is a Japanese pitcher as well, to a short term and low annual value deal, because we're probably looking at the $200 million range for Yoshinobu for any team. He's probably going to be, 5 years, 200, so that 20 million a year. Where Maeda is probably going to be more towards the 10 to $12 million a year. So with the Tigers, it's a really interesting situation in that sense. But I think if I had to bet money on where Yamamoto would land, Cubs have a really, really good chance. But there's also the possibility of the Cubs getting Shohei Ohtani. And you can't afford both unless you're either the Yankees, the Mets, or the Dodgers. And I know the Dodgers are going to be going really hard for Ohtani. I think everybody knows that. He knows that. I know that Yamamoto was in LA just this past weekend. He had front row tickets at the Lakers game. There's photos of him online already sitting up front. So he got a good look at the Lakers and probably the area of Los Angeles and how that is. Moving on, there were a couple of smaller pitching signings, mostly to do with the Cardinals. They signed Lance Lynn to a 1-year deal on Monday. That had some, incentives for 2024, as well as a club option for 2025. So we'll see how that works out, if he gets picked up or not for the next season in 25. Braves signed Ronaldo Lopez for a 3-year deal. And they're looking at him more as a starter than a relief pitcher, which he did a lot of relief pitching for the Angels. That's what he was traded for in the Giolito and Lopez trade. They wanted him in the bullpen, but he does have experience as a starter, so that versatility was really interesting to the Braves in Atlanta. They liked the fact that they could stretch him out, and that's actually what they plan on doing in the spring, is having him start out as a starter, going out there on the mound in the first inning and just pitching. And then they'll decide by the end of the spring training whether or not he'll be in the rotation or he'll be in the bullpen. Also, the Lynn deal was worth $11 million guaranteed, $10 million for 24, so next season, and $1 million buyout for 2025 if they don't pick him up. And then there's also $3 million worth of incentives, performance incentives for this upcoming season. So he could make $13 million in 2024, which is actually not bad for a guy like Lance Lynn, who's had a little bit of trouble recently. So congratulations to Lance Lynn for even getting the $10 million to start with. and possibly another 3 million, and then obviously the guaranteed 1 million if they don't pick up his option for 25, which is $11 million for 2025. That is confirmed. On a side note, the Cardinals also added Daniel Descalso, former infield pitcher. He actually won a ring with them in 2011 as a utility player. That was the one time he actually played over 100 games in his entire career. Um, I think he played every position in infield besides catcher. Um, they have him coming in to the club as their bench coach for 2024. So that should be interesting. Um, as far as Ronaldo Lopez's contract, it's worth 30 million guaranteed, broken up to 4 million for 2024, and then 11 million for the next 2 seasons after that, as well as a $4 million buyout for 2027 if they don't choose to trigger their $8 million club option. And he did also agree to donate 1% of his salary to the Atlanta Braves Foundation, which a lot of the incoming players, as well as some of the players that they extend, agree to donate to this foundation. Um, so, like I said, Yamamoto's window started on Tuesday, so a couple days before Thanksgiving. The the main agent for Yoshinobu, said that on the first day, Tuesday, he got texts and calls from at least 11 to 14 teams. Most of those are probably just GMs doing their due diligence and doing the job, saying, "Hey, what does he want? How much does he want? How many years? And is he fine going to such and such state or part of the country?" From what I've heard, Yoshinobu is not so much worried as far as location as a lot of the other Japanese players have been recently. And you get Darvish and Otani in Southern California, but you had Senga sign up in New York, and then you had Yoshida sign up for Boston last year. So I think Yoshinobu Yamamoto will be comfortable in just about any stadium and with any team. And I think he'll probably want to go to a team that does have a Japanese player on it already. Like I said, Boston, the Mets. But he'll also want to win. And I think, everyone wants to win. He's going to be a rookie. He's going to get a cheap contract compared to what he could have gone in Japan, possibly. And as far as what we see with Japanese people or players and Korean players coming over to the States, they normally get a 5, 6 year deal. Those first few years of club contract and then 3 years of arbitration, or a guaranteed deal for about that long, for what a team thinks they're worth. So half of the league has already contacted Joel Wolf, who is Yoshinobu's agent, and I'm sure that the other half is going to be contacting him already if they haven't done so. The A's announced that they signed pitcher Osvaldo Bido to a 1 year deal. Numbers on that are not up. And Tigers are an interesting bit. After they non-tendered Spencer Turnbull and Eduardo Rodriguez opted out of his contract, they lost 2 pitchers in that exchange. So they're looking at some free agent starters, looking for a veteran presence. And like I said, Kenta Maeda is one of those guys that could possibly be signed in the next week or so. Apparently, contract talks have picked up, but they've also looked at Seth Lugo, who had a decent end towards his 2023 campaign. So Lugo, could be a backup if Maeda doesn't sign. And as far as pitchers go, we actually had Zach Britton, 35-year-old, 12 years in the majors. He played for the Yankees and Orioles. Most probably remember him for playing for the Orioles. Um, he retired. He announced his retirement with a career 3.13 ERA and 154 saves. He was a relief pitcher for the majority of his career. So not a bad ERA and not a bad amount of saves. Definitely not Hall of Fame worthy, but congratulations to Zach, and I hope that he does well in his future endeavors. And speaking of Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame ballot did come out. I believe that came out on Monday. Came out. I kind of skipped over that. So my predictions. These are just predictions, obviously. Todd Helton, Adrian Beltre, Billy Wagner look to be possibly three of how many ever of these baseball players get voted in. I think those are my top three. Beltre, I think, has to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Wagner and Francisco Rodriguez are both very good candidates to be Hall of Famers, but I think Wagner just has the better career overall. And Todd Helton was just this close. I believe he was in the 72 percentile, or had 72% of the votes the last time he was on the ballot, and you need 75% or more. So he's that close to getting into the Hall of Fame. A lot of people have that whole Coors Field thing against him because he was a Rockies player for the most part of his career. But I think that he deserves it. Great hitter. So as far as other potential international players coming over, we have Shota Imanaga, who's also the Nippon Professional Baseball League in Japan. There's word that he may be being posted soon, and there was word that Jung-Hoo Lee, outfielder from Korea, will actually be posted in early December. So right around the time that the winter meetings happen in Tennessee. I believe it's going to be held in Nashville, if I'm correct. But the difference between the KBO and the NPB, the agreements that they have with the MLB and the NPB in Japan, they agreed last offseason that they'll give players 45 days rather than just what was before a standard 30-day window to negotiate with teams. So Shota and Yoshinobu have 45 days. The KBO did not come to that agreement or didn't change that agreement with the MLB and their players. So Jung-Hoo Lee, outfielder, will only have 30 days to sign with a team. That was the situation that Shohei Ohtani had back in 2017. He only had 30 days to sign with the team. So Yoshinobu and Shota will have the extra 15 days, 2 weeks. It could mean everything. It could mean nothing. They could decide on the very first week. We don't know with Yoshinobu. He's not even been on the market for a week yet. And on Tuesday, Mike Shildt, who was previously the senior advisor for Padres, was announced as the manager on a 2-year deal. It was also announced through word that Adrian Gonzalez, former LA Dodger and San Diego Padre, was interviewed for that position, but he didn't get it. And there were some interesting names: Phil Nevin, Benji Gill, all really good guys. Phil Nevin was a first draft pick. I believe he went number 1 overall. So he went, and helped Mickey Moniak, who came over from the Phillies when he was managing the Angels before Ron Washington came in. Benji Gill, he managed Team Mexico in the WBC this past spring. I went there and I just saw Mexico womp on Team USA in Arizona. Benji Gill would have been a great pick. There were a lot of guys that would have been a great pick for San Diego, but Benji Gill might get a bench coach piece somewhere. Who knows? There's a lot of spots. There weren't just the managers. I think there were 8 managerial positions that need to be filled. So there's going to be a lot of staff that these managers bring with them or call in to join them in their new teams and their new staff. Yeah, first base coach, third base coach, bench coach, infield, outfield coaches, pitching coaches, everything. You name it. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of names that'll be coming through in the waiver wire, not the waiver wire, sorry, the wire and the rumor mill that'll be being talked about. So there's a lot that a lot of people have to look forward to as far as their teams and coaches for 2024. And speaking of Red Sox, also hire Andrew Bailey, former pitcher, and MLB as their pitching coach. Tim Laker will be offensive coordinator, working alongside Johnny Washington, the hitting coach for the Angels. And they also added Barry Enright as their pitching coach. And he was actually the assistant pitching coach for the Diamondbacks the last 2 seasons. So if we saw anything from that World Series, staff for the Diamondbacks, Barry Enright's going to be able to help out. And the Cubs promoted Jared Banner, who was the team's VP of Player Development, to be the assistant general manager in the front office. And the Yankees hired Brad Osmus as their new bench coach. So, like I said, all these teams are getting new managers, getting new coaches. There's going to be a lot of names in this next few couple of weeks in the weekly wrap-up. Paul DeJong, infielder, second baseman, and shortstop. And the White Sox agreed to a 1-year deal pending a physical. I'm sure that will go fine. It should be fine. I haven't heard of DeJong having any big health issues. Starting pitcher Kyle Gibson will be joining Lance Lynn in St. Louis. He also signed a 1-year deal for $12 million with a club option for 2025. The amount on that was not announced. So for 24, Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson are only taking out $23 million to join their rotation. And this could be a sign of the Cardinals just being cheap, quote unquote. I hate to call a team cheap, but we see it a lot with a lot of teams. And we see some teams with owners that spend prolific amounts of money on players. So, Cardinals, hopefully you fans aren't going to be ripped off. I know you guys have a lot of young talent, so I'm looking forward to seeing that in 24. Else? I know that the Tigers, like I said, are in deep contract talks, possibly with Maeda. The problem is if you're hoping for that they do sign Yoshinobu Yamamoto, they're looking to keep their payroll under or around $100 million on opening day for next year, which would be the lowest in years. And Maeda might just be it, honestly. And sorry, but I don't think Maeda is going to be taking you guys to the World Series, unfortunately. But I'll eat my shoe if they do get to the World Series. So take that to the bank, as Ron Washington would say. On Wednesday was a big day. Mariners sent off Eugenio Suarez, third baseman, to Diamondbacks in Arizona for relief pitcher Carlos Vargas and catcher Sebi Zavala. So Eugenio Suarez is a top-notch defensive third baseman. He's gonna hit you 25 to 30, home runs, but he's also going to unfortunately strike out close to 200 times a year. Um, so Suarez is a good defensive and offensive pickup and replacement for Evan Longoria, who has been said to want to resign for another year. He has listed the Rays, his first club, Giants, who he joined in the middle of his career, and then obviously Diamondbacks because he has a home in Arizona. But they just closed up that gap, unfortunately, with Suarez. Um, Seattle has been looking at Jeimer Candelario as a possible fit for that third base position that's open. But they also have Luis Urias, who they got from Milwaukee on the cheap. I know that he doesn't have a ton of experience at third base, but he could still play the position and he could still fill that spot if they don't want to spend 10, 12, $15 million on Candelario. And Candelario is going to ask for not just 1 year, but he's going to ask for 2 or 3 years at least. Well, Urias can be put on the field any day of the week, and you don't have any contract obligations beyond the minimum for the MLB, which is about $740,000, I believe, for the minimum. So as far as what Arizona got back in that trade, Vargas has a lot of good whiff and strikeout material. His pitches are good in that sense, but he also has control issues. So he'll need to work on that in either the minors or the major league team. They did put both of these guys on the 40-man roster. Sebi Zavala just debuted recently. He doesn't have a huge record where you can say, this or that. He didn't have the greatest batting average in Pittsburgh or with Arizona. So he's definitely going to be Cal Raleigh's backup. It's that simple. Mets, more coaches announced John Gibbons as a new bench coach and Antoine Richardson possibly joining as their first base coach. That has not been announced yet, but the John Gibbons move has been announced. As far as Thanksgiving, it was pretty quiet. There are no signings, major league signings at least. There were some minor league signings, but I won't go through those. As far as Thanksgiving, you have minor rumors and speculation. Talks of Bo Bichette being traded from the Jays to the Cubs to play as their third baseman. That was actually a rumor last year. The Cubs wanted Bo Bichette. So who knows if the Jays and the Cubs swing a trade there. The Twins have been discussing trades with teams for their catcher Christian Vasquez. He has 2 years left on his contract at $20 million, so $10 a year. And beyond Tigers, Seth Lugo has been getting more interest actually because of all thanks to the Tigers. So Seth Lugo and his agent have to thank them and Seth Lugo for sticking it out last year. So we may or may not see him sign with the team in the next, couple of weeks. Like I said, winter meetings is where a lot of stuff happens. So we can't expect things to happen next week as well. That might be very quiet. It might be filled full of rumors of contract talks and such. Eric Stout, left-handed pitcher, has been gaining interest from multiple MLB teams, NPB teams, and KBO teams So he's wanted all over the world, it sounds like. He spent all of last year in the minor leagues, AAA, um, for the Mariners. Put up a 4.20 ERA over 21 games and just a tad over 40 innings. So he's a pure relief pitcher. Um, doesn't have amazing numbers, so he'll probably be on a cheap 1 year deal, if anything. I can't say whether it's going to be LB, NPB, or KBO. We'll just have to see what happens to Eric, but good luck to him. Yankees are showing interest with Jordan Montgomery. Sorry, name will suck there. The Yankees want to, have a reunion with Jordan, but so do the Texas Rangers. So the Rangers and the Yankees are going to have to fight over Montgomery, and it's going to be interesting because Montgomery had some crazy numbers. I have to find here. Here we go. Even though he's never thrown over 200 innings in a season, in the last 3 seasons from 2021 to 23, he's averaged 175 innings flat, had a 3.48 ERA, struck out 8.3 batters per 9 innings, and had a 25 to 24 record. It's very misleading now that, pitchers get pulled in the 5th, 6th inning, sometimes a little bit earlier than that. Again, not a 200 inning guy like Aaron Nola is sometimes when he's healthy. And I think Montgomery may want to go back to Texas if he wants to win. Yankees had a hard time winning last year, no matter what they did. But he is, comfortable and he knows the franchise in New York. So if the Yankees throw a ton of money at Jordan, he is one of the top 3 or 4 pitchers left as far as starting pitchers. If you don't look at Yoshinobu and Shota and Shohei, because Shohei is not pitching in 2024, obviously. Montgomery is in the top 3 or 4 with, Snell and Sonny Gray. So it's going to be a duke out between Texas and New York for Jordan Montgomery. I think he'll land in one of those 2 cities. What else? Like I said, Jung Lee from the KBO will be posted in early December due to what they've said is the Thanksgiving holiday got in the way of posting him. So MLB obviously doesn't work on Thanksgiving like a lot of companies don't. So they'll have to wait until either this week or the week after during winter meetings to post him. Let's see what else. I got all of the names that interviewed for the Padres. Like I said, Adrian Gonzalez, Mike Schilt was already in the franchise before he got named manager. Phil Nevin, Benji Gill, Carlos Mendoza, who actually ended up with the Mets as their manager. So Carlos Mendoza is going to have to get some coaches to join him over there in New York. Another arm, very interesting. Noah Syndergaard, who had a fairly bad start. No, I was going to say he had a really bad start to the beginning of 2023. Noah Syndergaard went to the Dodgers, and I thought he was going to be another one of those reclamation projects where they just got a guy, they fixed him, he became an all-star, he was going to kill it, and nope, he just kind of just fell flat on his face. Got traded to the Guardians, actually. What was that? Sorry. Yes. So he got traded to the Guardians to finish off the rest of 2023. Unfortunately, due to the lack of good starters, his asking price will probably start at the $13 million that the Dodgers paid him last season for 2023. But he might just be a 1 year rental. So um, there's that. He could work out of the bullpen. I know that the Phillies, when the Angels traded him to the Phillies, he was moved to the bullpen. So there is the possibility of using him as a relief pitcher as well, and not trying to stretch him out like the Dodgers did. Um, to wrap up, um, if the Yankees can't get uh, Jordan Montgomery, they may look at Seth Lugo. And obviously, they're not shy about being open to international stars. Obviously, they've had international stars before. Um, so they're going to look at everyone and anyone. Yoshinobu, Shota, and they're looking at needs in the outfield. So, um, the Korean outfielder that will be posted soon, hopefully in the next week or so. His name is Jung Hoo Lee. Like I said earlier, outfielders, they're going to look at everyone. Kevin Kiermaier, they've looked at. Um, and besides all the coaching changes that were made, managerial changes, I think we're going to start to see signings happen, like I said, in the next 2 weeks. Shohei Ohtani, I have no idea. He's on the opposite of Yamamoto, where Yamamoto wants to play with a team that has a Japanese star as well. Shohei Ohtani might not want to. It's not been confirmed that he doesn't want to play alongside another Japanese player. He may very well, take that in and enjoy it, and actually gravitate towards someone that has a Japanese start as well. So that will be interesting because it's like, do you want the $500 million star who can pitch and hit and play the outfield possibly, or do you want the $200 million star uh, who's 25 and not injured and can pitch for you right now, and you can have him for 5 years, and you're not, dedicating $500 million to him? Uh, it's going to be a very interesting situation for teams and general managers and owners alike, which we'll see a lot of from December 3rd to the 6th. So that is something to look out for, as well as the Jeff Fletcher interview that I'll be having in the middle of next week, actually. So next week's episode will be released in the middle of the week, probably Wednesday or Thursday instead of on Saturday. And it'll be a one-on-one interview with Jeff Fletcher, the Angels beat writer for Orange County Register. And to finish off this episode, I want to give away this Jonah Bride rookie card autograph from Big League Baseball. I already did the randomization, and it was to McCuller Billy on Instagram. So McCuller Billy, thank you for following the rules and for joining this contest. On the next weekly wrap up, that's going to be not next week, but the week after, where we'll see some of the winter meetings stuff happening, and we'll see some signings and trades happen. I'm going to give away this 2023 Bowman Giancarlo Stanton card, purple parallel, number to 199. So I know that you can't see the number on this. I want you to guess it. It's out of 199. I'm going to post it on Instagram, Twitter, or X, if you call it that, as well as other socials. It's going to be down below in the description. If you can guess it out of 199, closest person will get it. And I'm going to have to cover it up when I post this on Instagram, just so you know. No cheating. So yes, congratulations, McCullough Billy on Instagram. I'll DM you and I'll get your information and I'll send this out as soon as possible. Have a great week, everyone. That was a weekly wrap-up.